The Tragedy of the Storm. The Outlook. April 7th, 1920. There is nothing more terrible in the forces of nature than the sudden sweep and fatal fury of the tornado. It cannot be foreseen, it cannot be resisted, it cannot be avoided. The calamity of March 28th affected localities in 8 states. It is believed that the total loss of life exceeds 150, while the number of persons injured amounts to several hundred. What was unusual about this disaster is that it really consisted of 2 separate destructive storms, which ultimately joined forces. One, the Weather Bureau tells us, developed in Alaska, the other in Arizona and Nevada. When these 2 combined, a rotary wind motion developed, which caused the tornado proper. Its force may be estimated when we remember that while the movement of the storm as a whole was only about 50 miles an hour, the velocity of the wind at the center was probably from 200 to 300 miles an hour. Of the 6 central western states affected, Illinois and Indiana suffered most severely. In Illinois, towns and villages not far from Chicago were hit. Elgin suffered the largest destruction of property. A number were killed in Melrose Park and other towns in the suburbs of Chicago. Indiana reported 36 fatalities, Ohio 20, Michigan and Wisconsin suffered less severely. At the southern end of this vastly extensive storm, Georgia and Alabama were severely injured. The fatalities were scattered about in many country districts. It is known that about 80 people were killed, and the number is probably much larger. If the tornado had struck large cities, it is almost beyond one's power to imagine the path of death and destruction it would have left. It did in fact come very close indeed to Toledo and Chicago, and their escape was narrow and most merciful. Like most such tornadoes, this acted with what might be called freakishness, striking savagely at detached spots and skipping completely over intervening regions. In these cases of calamity by natural force, the public can only extend its deep sympathy and its prompt aid. This it has done. The Red Cross, as always in cases of public disaster and suffering, was quick to render assistance, and other civic and national help will surely be available as needed.